All right, so uh, one of the aspects I told some of the individuals who are gone that to check the Science Channel, and am I going to look to see whether you've wrote this down? No, but if you don't, you are not doing yourself any favors. Okay, so perhaps on a scratch sheet of paper, I would write this down, but uh, it'll help you with this video that we're going to see, and also write these 6 animals down. Okay, it's pronounced a Petrolacosaurus, a Cephalaspis, a Diictodon, a Haiku a Hynerpeton, and a Gorgonopsid or Gorgonopsia. Okay, now that doesn't mean anything to you right now. Okay, I I would write this down, but for sure, make sure you're writing these down. Okay. So crocodiles and then alligators over here. And then on this side, for instance, we put bears, canines, and then felines over here. Okay, so hopefully that's a little easier to see. And the reason that we put them down, okay, is there's a couple terms in your vocabulary that is due on the 9th or Thursday. Okay, so you have plenty of time to get them started, get them completed. I knew there was a game today, an away game. I was not aware what time they were leaving. So there is a paper that I'll be handing out that we'll have that due maybe sometime next week instead, because I see I have a due date of Friday. But to be fair, we'll push that back. Okay. Because what you see in that lower right-hand corner, those are terms of actual animals that are in the prehistoric record. And the significance of this is hopefully teaching us how to read flowcharts, if you want to call it that, or diagrams, because many of you will be going on to take ACT tests or something to that effect, and some of you may be saying, well, that doesn't affect me, and that's maybe true. But some of you will be going into professions where you have to read possibly specifications or something to that nature. Okay, and hopefully what this does is allows us to maybe think critically on how to accomplish those tasks. Now, whether you wrote the converging up there or diverging, fine. If not, that's fine too. But what we're trying to illustrate here, again, what is the main concept of evolution? What if some of you are working in elementary, a young student comes up to you and says, I need to define a really short definition of evolution, and that would be what to you? Survival of the fittest is one of the most common examples that you could do, but it's going to be the environment that shapes an animal to look the way it does, and where it's successful and why it might be. So just really quickly, what are 2 totally different species of bears that you're totally contrasting in the climate that they live in? Black bear and a polar bear. Okay? So you pick up and move a black bear up to the Arctic and set them down in that environment. Is it going to die? Probably not, but well, depending if it can capture a food source. But the problem that it's going to have to survive is what? It's too small and it can't keep up its core body temperature. Then, if you take a polar bear and drop that into the southern tip of Florida where American bears or the black bear reigns, where the humidity is high, the temperature is high, and you've got a really heavy coat of fur on there, is that animal going to be successful? The answer is no. It's not that it can't find food, but its surroundings will limit on its success. So that's in short on what we're talking about, evolution. It's shaping that animal to look the way it does. So in this case, example we gave last period, the example we gave last period was what with converging evolution? Yes? Yeah, close enough. So what we're talking about is if you are going east on Highway 34, if you cross the bridge and take a left, or if you take a right on the entrance ramp for South Interstate 29, when you are merging onto traffic, what does that mean? It means you have traffic going in this direction, and you have another type of traffic coming on. Now you're going the same way. You are merging or converging into one direction. So, in short, get this down here so people can actually see those bottom terms down here, we hope. Okay? So, you might have to hit pause. So, what we see happening here, in converging evolution, we have organisms that look similar that are in two totally different environments. I think you would agree with that. They've evolved separately, okay? Because when it comes to reptiles, you know that's a reptile for probably three reasons. It's got teeth, it's got scales, and it's got claws. Those you can actually observe. I think everyone would agree. But when you're looking at animals who had separated, these would only have three characteristics in common when it comes to their diet, and that's probably being a carnivore. So what does that have to do with a gorgonopsid? What I want you to think about is notice what we see here. That's one of these animals we want you to have written down for this evaluation that you do, which is actually part 2 of the exam of this. It's where you describe, well, why is this important? And some people might say, well, it's not important. I could not care less. Then maybe that's your choice. If you choose that's your personal choice. But what we do here, again, these are 6 totally different animals that had evolved basically from one. And that's what this video will go on to describe. Okay? So, you might be asking, well, why is only the gorgonopsid up here? Okay? Well, these large reptiles and some of these canines can be probably quite large, but especially the bears and felines that can be quite large carnivores too. Any carnivore is going to have something very specific in its mouth. Very large canines. And they would have molars too, so they can grind their food down. Okay? But the very, very earliest of large predators like this was called a gorgonopsid. Then, as the earth had changed through millions upon millions of years, organisms had evolved into these, to whatever it is that would suit their environment, whether it's in a cold, warm, whether it had to have spots on its body, whether it did not. And that type of an example or a manner. So that's what we'll discuss this at a later time. Okay, so what I want to do is briefly get this started, and it won't be long. As you had mentioned, I gotta go grab a bus, and then we'll explain this a little later. So I'm gonna stop this, so we'll catch up to you next time.